According to the United Nations, Abuja grew by over 100% between 2000 and 2010. And as of 2015, the city experienced an annual growth of at least 35%. The estimated population of the city hit 8 million as of 2016. Now, these developments have necessitated the several reviews of the Abuja Master Plan. I had a discussion with the FCT Development Control Officer on issues relating to the reviews and implementation of the plan. Hello there and compliments of the season. Welcome to another edition of Dateline Abuja. I'm Ibrahim Adra. 53 suspects were arrested in the last couple of weeks by the FCT command of the police. They were arrested for offenses ranging from kidnapping, armed robbery, cultism and rape. We have details in the FCT in Focus segment. Abuja has witnessed a huge influx of people into the city. The growth has led to the emergence of satellite towns. Plus, real estate is now a major driver of the Abuja economy. This necessitated the need to have a conversation on the Abuja Master Plan. But first, let's start off with stories that made the headline within the week in the nation's capital.
A rally demanding the release of the Revolution Now leader Mr. Omoyele Sowore have been disrupted by a group insisting on his continued detention. The clash occurred in front of the headquarters of the National Human Rights Commission in the presence of anti-riot police officers. In a related development, Justice Ahmed Mohammed of the Federal High Court has withdrawn from the fundamental rights enforcement suit instituted by the Revolution Now convener, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Justice Mohammed ruled that he could not hear Sowore's case, insisting that it was the fair, just and proper thing to do in view of the previous publications by Sowore's medium, Sahara Reporters, accusing him of bribery.
The case has been sent back to the Chief Judge for reassignment because His Lordship, the Honorable Justice Mohammed, raised some issues regarding two publications by Sahara Reporters, which refer to our Lordship handling of some matters. His Lordship therefore felt that since justice is rooted in confidence, he will not want a situation where the decisions of the court will be subject to interpretation contrary to the justice of the matter. We counsel on all sides. Felt that the observation was proper and that the best thing to do was for His Lordship to recuse himself, and that was what happened in the case of Bashir M. Abiola and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, whereby 8 justices of the Supreme Court are to recuse themselves based on an earlier publication which had led to a libel suit or institution of libel cases against the Concord newspaper.
Meanwhile, almost 5 years after his detention, reprieve came the way of the former National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki, as the federal government ordered his release. Also released is the convener of the Revolution Now campaign, Mr. Omoyele Sowore. The Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, made the announcement in a press statement. Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal has declared that the BAYELSA State Deputy Governor, Senator Degi Eremioyo, is qualified to contest the November 16th governorship election in the state. In a judgment delivered by Justice Rilwan Abdullahi, the 3-man panel of the court held that the senator met the necessary academic qualification for contesting the election. The appellate court set aside the judgment of Justice Ekwo on the grounds that the lower court erred in arriving at the conclusion that the alleged false information was enough ground to disqualify the contestant. And the defense headquarters has denied claims that the Boko Haram terrorist group have taken over some communities in the northeastern part of the country. Speaking at the end of their briefing on the various operations in the country, Defense spokesperson Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu said the Boko Haram sect remains decimated.
Boko Haram is not holding any territory, any inch of our territory in this country. I want to make it very clear that Boko Haram and ISWAP have been decimated, they've been depleted, and they've been pushed into what we call the Tumbus. The Tumbus are the islands between Nigeria and the neighboring countries of Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, from where they have their enclave, so to speak, where they're hibernating, and from where they come out, infiltrate the public, and carry out attacks on soft targets. Boko Haram is not holding any inch of our territory. What they do is watch out for soft targets, like I mentioned, and conduct attacks. You will recall that, I think, was it on Sunday or something, there was such infiltration, and they were severely dealt with.
Residents of Keti, a remote community in the federal capital, once increased security in their village following the abduction of 4 persons by some gunmen. The community insists that there have been over 20 raids in their community, but the police insist that a manhunt has been launched to arrest the culprits, as 3 of the victims have already been rescued.
We promptly responded to the distress call where we engaged the kidnappers at Keti village at the outskirts of Kabusa, where we engaged them in a gondor, a fierce one at that, and we were able to rescue 2 of the kidnapped victims. The commissioner has launched a manhunt to ensure that the kidnappers are apprehended.
President Muhammadu Buhari has received letters of credence from the ambassador of the United States of America to Nigeria, Ms. Mary Beth Leonard. According to a statement from the presidency, President Buhari used the opportunity to ask the United States to ensure that its sources of information on Nigeria cuts across all sectors, owing to what he described as misleading and manipulated narratives by some people. Nigeria recently was placed on a special watch list of countries that had engaged in intolerance, the severe violation of religious freedom by the U.S. government. He said the recent listing of Nigeria for human rights concerns created an impression that some people were being unfairly treated or marginalized in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari rejoiced with Nigerians, especially Christians, on the occasion of this year's Christmas celebration. In his message to the nation, he urged the people to show love to their neighbors. The president also called on insurgents, armed robbers and kidnappers, as well as economic saboteurs, amongst others, to have a rethink and be of good behavior. He appealed to the people to pray for members of the nation's armed forces who are making the sacrifice to protect the people. President Muhammadu Buhari is using the occasion of the Christmas celebration to thank Nigerians for their support in rebuilding the country, saying his administration sincerely believes fixing the country's infrastructure is the right way to go. The president spoke when the minister of the federal capital, Mr. Mohammed Bello, led residents of the nation's capital to pay a Christmas homage to the president. The delegation is made up of politicians, traditional rulers and religious leaders.
I thank Nigerians very much from the bottom of my heart, very sincerely, because you are our eyes and ears. So we have to listen to you, and I hope you are encouraging your constituencies that this leadership is concerned with them. This leadership sincerely believes that if you get the infrastructure right, most Nigerians will mind their own businesses. They may not even care who is in government. And we hope that history will be kind to us. We will do our best to make sure resources continue to be utilized responsibly.
Ahead of the 2020 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Exam, the Joint Administration and Matriculation Board insists there is no going back on the use of the National Identification Number for registration. Addressing State Commissioners of Education, the Registrar of JAMB, Professor Ishak Oluyede, says the aim of the new policy is to reduce exam malpractice and strengthen the integrity of the exercise.
We are bringing in NIMSI That is a major one. National Identity Management Commission. Frankly speaking, I did not make the law. It's the National Assembly that made the law and said that anybody who is rendering the type of service we are rendering must demand for NIN. Some of the atrocities being committed, particularly, I'm not sure whether many of you have observed the proliferation of tutorial centers. Any state you go to, you see somebody who does not possess school cert will establish a tutorial center. These tutorial centers are largely centers of examination malpractice.
Thank you for staying with us. Between October 22nd and December the 17th, the police arrested several suspects in various parts of the nation's capital. The Commissioner of Police, Mr. Balachiroma, explains that officers are carrying out intensified patrols, joint operations and raid of black spots to ensure hitch-free Yuletide for residents. This is about the last media interaction for the year by the police commissioner in charge of the Federal Capital Territory. Over 50 suspects are on parade for various offences, ranging from kidnapping to armed robbery, drug trafficking, impersonation and cultism. Several exhibits were recovered from the suspects, including 8 vehicles, 2 rifles, 1 pistol, 10 live cartridges, 6 cutlasses, 7 jackknives, 46 bags of Indian hemp, as well as 34 master keys and 2 network jammers. The suspected impersonators were arrested at various locations in possession of the uniform of the Nigerian Army.
I went on AWO 30 minutes to purchase inhaler, asthmatic inhaler, and that was my offense for Nigerian Army. And as I'm talking to you, I came to Abuja, I went to National Assembly, I got a letter and they called the Chief of Army Staff. The Chief of Army Staff gave a signal to the Dogs headquarters, Yaradua Barracks. They took me there for investigation. I saw my files there, everything there. They promised to rejab me back because he said they should look into the matter and rejab back if it is 30-minute AWO. Yes, and that was what happened. Since then, if I go there, they will tell me come back again. If I go there, come back again. There was even a warrant officer that said I should pay money before they rejab me back, 500,000. Imagine, in Nigerian Army, military police.
I finished from Air Force Military School, Jos. So I was working at Life Camp. I was just working on so I got apprehended 2 military men, is it 76 or 77 intake? I don't actually know their intake. They were asking me questions about, so my ID card and my phone actually fell down. It just fell down. My ex-jam ID card, Air Force Military School, just fell down, so I couldn't identify myself. So they now took me to Life Camp police station, then Life Camp now brought me back to this place here.
17 suspects, including ladies, were arrested for their alleged involvement in cultism.
It's a mistake. I pray that God will let me out of this. They invite me. I never knew it was cultist something. They just invite me, let's go for a meeting, and before I know it was something else, and there's no way I will go back.
Somebody invited me for a party, so I went there. So on getting there, though I saw the car outside, I did not know that it was bad party, so I just entered. I saw them. I did not even know what was going on. They asked me to sit there and arrested me.
The police chief explains that the effort of the police is to ensure that the nation's capital is rid of criminal elements and to also ensure that the residents feel safe to go about their businesses.
Command has redoubled its efforts in terms of strategic deployment of men on the major highways, providing diligent patrols, motorized and foot, robust stop and search operations, strategic raids of black spots, tactical land and aerial surveillance, joint operation with sister agencies, and other covert means to ensure a crime-free Christmas and New Year celebration within their city. I will also use the medium to appeal to the public to ensure that they properly scrutinize domestic applicants such as drivers, house helps, and especially security guards before employing them. Considering the new trend of crime committed by some of these domestic employees, particularly against their employers and their family members.
As for the suspects, the police is hoping to arraign them as soon as investigations are concluded in their cases.